Okay, put a finger down. If 3 weeks ago you had an intense stomach ache to the point where it got so bad for the first time in your life, you decide to call an ambulance. But of course you live in the UK and the ambulance service tells you you need to get a cab to the emergency room. So you call an Uber and you do just that. And the Uber is concerned because you're groaning in pain, but you tell him not to worry because you're going to the emergency room. And when you get there, of course, there is a long wait. So they tell you to sit and wait for approximately 4 hours. And while you're there, you're groaning and you're uttering in pain. And a few hours later, your husband joins you and he's concerned, but there's nothing you can do but wait. But then you feel the really intense urge to poop. So you run to the closest restroom, you lock the door behind you, and you sit to poop. You don't even clean the seat. That's how urgent it was, okay? And so you're sitting there and you're pooping and you're pushing and it hurts, but it feels so good to push. And you're pushing and pushing, and then you hear a big plop. And so you stand up and you look down, and that's when you realize you just gave birth to a baby. But it gets worse. It gets worse. So you pick up, your instincts kick in and you pick up this baby and you're looking at this baby and you realize someone is screaming, and upon closer inspection, that someone is you. You're screaming to the point where your husband is trying to break the door down because you have not been answering his "Are you okay in there?" questions. Before you can even react to him breaking the door down, you feel this intense wetness and you look down and your water broke. And you're thinking, strange. Because you thought the water would break before the baby, right? That's what you've been taught. I mean, this is your first baby, so you don't know anything. But before you can even think of that, you feel the urge to poop again. But this time it is poop. It is poop. And as you're standing there holding this newborn and pooping, your husband has managed to break the door down, and him, together with the nurses, because they've also been hearing screaming, together with some people from the waiting room, are all looking at you and looking at this sight of a woman holding a baby, pooping while standing, still screaming, okay? Then the nurses approach you, someone takes the baby, and then you hear the baby cry, and then you feel relief, even though you're like, what just happened, okay? But before you can even say anything, you hear the nurses say, she's having another one. You're thinking, another what? Another poop? Another what? But before you can even think that, you're pushing. You're pushing. And this is familiar to the first push, so you know you're having another baby. Okay? Okay? And as you're pushing and pushing, you give birth to another baby. But this time it hurt a lot more than the first, you know? But the nurses, who are still in shock themselves, tell you they don't have a maternity ward here. So they would have to call an ambulance, the same ambulance that denied you the first time. They would have to call an ambulance to take you to the closest hospital that has a maternity ward. And as you're making your way there, the doctors and the nurses, everyone, the paramedics, they're all concerned because you don't know if your babies are full term or not. Because according to you, you had abs. You have abs, and you had abs because you've been working so hard at the gym and you've been losing weight. So you were feeling yourself. So you're still confused as to where were these babies hiding inside your body, you know? Anyway, you get to the hospital, they do the checks. The babies, they're not full term, but they're close to full term. And the doctors are impressed. So impressed to the point where they call the media, they call the press, but you have to tell them to hold off. Hold off. While you quickly call your mom to tell her, congratulations, you are now a grandma to twin boys. Twin boys. And she's confused and you're confused and your husband is confused. Everyone is confused. Has this ever happened to you? Because it hasn't happened to me. It hasn't happened. I just wanted to know, has it happened to you? Because that would be a crazy story, wouldn't it?
Put a finger down if you were at work one day and a customer comes in and you're in real estate, so you're walking them around the house and it's great chit chat on the first floor. It's going really well. And I'm like, let's go to the second floor. Follow the leader, follow behind me, which you never do. You always walk behind them. But I was new and I didn't know that yet. So we get up the stairs and all of a sudden I'm like, what's up with this dude? He's acting weird all of a sudden, but I don't know what could have happened in the 6.5 seconds from the first floor to the second floor. So I just keep doing my spiel, and I'm like, all right, like, let's talk about next steps. So we go downstairs and go to my office. I'm like, let me print these things out for you. And every time I have to print something, I have to turn my back to him and walk to the printer and get those items. And out of nowhere, he's like, I have to go. And I'm like, okay, are you not interested? He's like, I have to go. I will call you. Okay. And he leaves, and I go to the bathroom, and I realize my pants are split from the back all the way to the middle. And I didn't have underwear on. So my La Cucaracha was just free hanging, looking him dead in the face as we walked up the stairs, and every time I went to the printer.
Put a finger down if you were conceived through a sperm donor and you were told that you would die never knowing your dad's name or what he looked like or, anything important. But you were told that when you turned 18, you could go looking for your half-siblings. And it was about a year ago when you were sitting in your bed alone on a Sunday and you were bored and you're like, what should I do today? And you thought, wait, oh my God, I'm 18. I can go looking for my half-siblings. And you call your mom, and a couple days later, you get in touch with one of your sisters, and she's super excited to meet you, and you follow each other on Instagram, and you think that's kind of it. Like, that's the only one you got in touch with. So you're like, great, okay, I guess I have a sister. And then all of a sudden, a bunch of other people start following you on Instagram, and they're mutuals with your sister, and you're like, oh, cool, my sister told her friends about me. That's cool. And then you're looking at the pictures of them, and you're like, wait, these are my siblings, and my sister probably told them about me. And you get a DM from one of these people, and you find out that one of them is your sister. And these people who did follow you were your siblings. And the second sister is like, wait, I should add you to the group chat on Instagram with all of us. But before I add you to the group chat, do you know how many there are of us? And I said, oh, I don't. No one's told me, but, max 10, right? That's the law. Like, the law is, like, max 10, right? And she's like, oh, maybe the law is max 10. Like, that makes sense. But there's 40 of us. And then you get added to the group chat, and she was not lying. There were 40 of us. And you find out that you're the youngest of all of them. And you're 41 of 41, and in this same night, you meet everyone, and you find out your dad's name and what he looks like. You get pictures of when he was your age and what he looks like now, and you get his email, and you emailed him, and he emailed back. And you find out that your oldest sister, the oldest, number one of one, it's like Stranger Things, number one, went to high school with your first cousin on your mom's side, and they knew each other, and they didn't know that they were related, and they were a year apart.
Put a finger down if you slide into a man's DM who's Facebook famous in your city and basically shoot your shot. He was with it, and you tell him, I no longer live in Jacksonville, but I live in Miami, but if you're ever in town, definitely come visit me. And the man books a flight for 2 weeks later to come visit you in Miami, and he gets a hotel room at the East Miami in Brickell. Very nice. You go pick him up from the airport, y'all go to brunch, vibes are there. Y'all go back to the hotel, there's a rooftop pool, y'all are drinking, socializing with other people at the hotel, vibes are there, okay? Then y'all go have dinner. Vibes are there. Perfect all-day date. The man tells you that he's going to get up early in the morning and sit in this deep garden tub that they have in the room at the East Miami and watch the sunrise. And you tell him, cool, I'm not doing that, but good for you. Have fun doing that. And in the morning, he gets up bright and early, 6 a.m., to go sit in the tub. And after an hour and a half, you realize this man hasn't came out the bathroom. Is he good? Why is he still in the bathroom? So you get up and you knock on the door. Hey, are you okay in there? No response. Hey, are you okay in there? No response. So you slowly slide the farmhouse door and you see the man in the tub, face down, head underwater. I am so sorry, y'all. Some of us have a job, okay? I punch a clock, okay? And I punch a clock in person. So, sorry, TikTok don't pay my bills, but here's the rest of the story. So, basically, I walk over to the bathroom. I see him with his face in the water and his butt looking at me. Okay, I'm disgusted because I do not like to see a man's butt. Like, that is a turn off. So I'm turned off. Like, I don't think anything bad has happened. I'm like, dude, like, you're 30 years old and you're playing in these people's tub. Like, I for real thought he was playing in the tub. He gives play in the tub type of dude. Like, because even when we were at the pool, like, the way he was just acting, like, he gave me that he would play in the tub. Okay, so I'm like, are you good, sir? Like, are you good? He don't say nothing. And I was like, oh. So I'm like, hello? He doesn't say anything. Mind you, I don't even know this man's real name. I just know his artist name. Okay, I had no right. So I'm like, hello? Hello? Are you okay? Like, I'm in a whole scary movie. So then I snap out of it, I run over to the tub, and I like get into the tub, and I flip his body, and I'm pulling him out of the tub. I have him, I'm in the tub. Okay, I'm in dirty bath water. And he looks at me and he goes, gotcha. I just met this man 24 hours prior in person, and I'm in his dirty bath water. And I see his booty. I'm pissed, okay? And he's just cracking up laughing. He's like, dang, you took too long. Like, I'm over here holding my breath in dirty bath water. Playing 30 years old, dude. You're grown. You're a grown man. You are grown. You are grown. You are 30 years old. You are 30 years old playing these type of games with somebody you don't even know. So anyways, I went off on him about something else, and he cut me off, y'all. How you cut me off first?
Put a finger down if your dad cheated on your mom with a man. Then they tried to work it out, and by working it out, they decided to have another kid. And the man that my dad actually had an affair with my mom with was actually friends with my grandma. And that following Christmas, my grandma actually invited this man to the family Christmas party. As one would expect, my mom was fuming when she found out who was there. By the end of the night, actually, my mom was talking to this man, and they actually found out that they have a lot in common and would actually say that they could be friends after this. Turns out they were right, because they have been friends for 20 plus years. This man was literally at my birth. He's been like a second dad to me my entire life. And then fast forward a few years, my mom comes out as a lesbian. So now I have a gay dad and a lesbian mom.
Put a finger down if at 21 years old you found out that your father wasn't your biological father and that one of your family members is blackmailing your family into telling you this because even though your parents loved you and were married, they couldn't have biological children, so they found a sperm donor. Then you find 6 half-siblings and your sperm donor father. Then 3 years later on 23andMe, you match with someone that says, surprise, I'm your father, which then means that the sperm bank mixed up the sperm, and the father that your mom chose, again, that wasn't your biological father, but the father they chose from the sperm bank wasn't actually your biological father. So the person you've been talking to for 3 years wasn't related to you, and this stranger is. And now you have 6 more half-siblings that you've discovered over the past 5 years since, and how to tell the first family that they weren't actually your biological family.
Put a finger down if you and your husband get to go on a date night and the restaurant that you choose ends up being ladies' night, and so you get to drink Tito's and cranberry for $3 a glass, and by the time you're finished with your meal, you are accidentally wasted, and when you leave the restaurant, you fall, skin your knee, and rip your pants. But you still want to go bowling, so your husband drives you to the bowling alley, and then once you get to the bowling alley is having some sort of bowling tournament, so there are no lanes open. So you and your husband decide to go and sit at the bar and continue drinking. About 30 minutes after you've been there drinking some more, you decide you are ready to go home. So your husband loads you up in his truck to drive you home. And about halfway home, you decide you don't want to go home and you want to go back to the bowling alley and continue drinking. And your husband tells you, no, we're not going back to the bowling alley, we're going home. So then he stops at Buc-ee's on the way home to get you a Gatorade and a Tylenol, and while he's in the store and you are in the passenger seat, you see 2 big old bubbas getting in the car beside you. So you roll your window down and you let the men know that you are being kidnapped. So the kind Samaritans decide to sit with you and wait for your husband/kidnapper to get out of Buc-ee's to confront him. So when your husband gets out of the gas station, he walks up and there's 2 big old bubbas standing right outside your window, and they confront him and let him know that the woman in his passenger seat is claiming that she's being kidnapped. So your husband explains the situation and tells them, that's my wife, she's drunk, and I'm trying to get her home. So the kind Samaritans let your husband/kidnapper take you. So when you get home, you still want to go back to the bowling alley and drink. And while your husband is trying to unlock the door to get you inside, you are screaming for your neighbor, calling him by name, letting him know that you are being kidnapped. And in the process, you fall into your flower bed and mulch gets all over your jacket. You get inside, you don't remember what happens, your husband's upset with you, he goes to bed. At some point, you end up in bed as well and wake up a few hours later to vomit. As you're walking into the bathroom to vomit, you notice that there is mulch all over the floor. So you are mad at your husband because how could he get mulch all throughout the house? So you vomit, you go back to bed, and in the morning, whenever you wake up, the first thing you do is ask your husband what the heck he was doing to get mulch all throughout the house because you had just done the floors the day before. Only to find out that he is not only mad at you now for blaming him for all the mulch in the house, but that you also told 2 strangers that you were being kidnapped. Put another finger down if you haven't had a drink of Tito's and cranberry in 5 years.
Put a finger down if 10 years ago your mom was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, but she refused to believe it and has not taken medication. So for the past 10 years, she's been terrorizing you and feeding you trauma for breakfast. So you decide one day that you need to get the heck out of this crazy, toxic household, and your one-way ticket out is marriage. So you find a nice boy, you start talking to him, and eventually you get engaged. And your mom tries to break off your engagement, not once, but twice. You speed up your wedding process, and during this time, you sit her down and you say, "Hey mom, if you don't get on medication and get your ish together, I have to stop communicating with you after wedding weekend." And she looks you dead in the eye and she says, "Do what you want. I'm not going to take medicine." So you say, "Okay, sis," and you hold up to your end of the bargain. And after wedding weekend wraps up, you slowly start cutting off communication and eventually have to block her on all platforms. Now you're living your best life with your husband and you don't know your mom's whereabouts because you don't keep in touch with her. And as you're getting settled into married life, you start looking for a new home, and you find a home 45 minutes away from your parents because boundaries. As you start settling into your new home, your sister calls you crying, saying that she can't live with their parents anymore, and eventually you take her under your wing, and now you, your sister, and your husband are living happily ever after, 45 minutes away from your parents. And as you settle into your house and a couple months go by, you're regaining your mental health, you're getting back on track, and you live in a great environment. So you start going on hot girl walks, and on one of your hot girl walks one day, you notice that a house 5 houses down from you has a sold sign in front of it. And as you walk past it, you see a really familiar van that looks just like your mom's, but you think, there's no way. And parked right behind that van is a blue colored car, which looks oddly familiar like your dad's. At this rate, your heart is pounding and you decide to go knock on the door. And once you knock on the door, lo and behold, your dad opens the door. He looks you up and down and there's a moment of silence. He then begins to tell you, "Oh, we really didn't know how to tell you guys this, but we actually ended up putting a contract on this house and our move-in date is next week." So now your mom lives 5 houses down from you and can terrorize you at any moment. And in fact, she showed up to your house twice unsolicited already.
Put a finger down if you dated this person for 7 months on this app. But the only thing about it is y'all never met in person, even though she was in your town at one point and stayed 5 minutes from you. You never FaceTime one time. There was always one thing after the other that continued to happen. I'm talking crazy shit. Talking this person down from unaliving, left and right, mental breakdowns, people tracking her down, holding her hostage, many other things, only to find out that they also were playing other people during the same period. And then months after it's done and the person has disappeared, maybe conscience, maybe whatever the case may be, you get a random message from someone saying, "Hey, I know you don't know me, but I was with Emma from May of last year until early this year when she just randomly decided to be like, I can't do this, let's just be friends. So you dated this person, and another person dated this person. I'm curious if other people dated this person because at the end of the day, nobody really knows who Emma is, and Emma's gone. But when the person added you yesterday, all of a sudden the profile that Emma did have, where there was like no contact, but still like there was that open line, randomly is just gone. The profile is gone now at this point, right? You haven't spoken or anything, but this person adds you, and now today when you open, Facebook Messenger, that profile is gone. So put a finger down if this person has also been continuing to watch you long after all this is over with, long after the talks of marriage with you and other people and everything. Put a finger down if that's you. Am I an idiot? I think so.
Put a finger down if your partner and you moved across the country because he was relocated for work, but you still needed to find a job. And so this company reached out to you out of nowhere saying they had the perfect opportunity as a quality inspection associate. You'd work from home, part-time, make good money. It was perfect because you had nothing else bringing in money at the time. And so you took it. And what you would do is they'd send you packages that were addressed to someone else so that you could inspect them and make sure everything was okay with the product. Or they'd send you to UPS with a notary. You'd pick up the package, bring it home, and do the same thing. Inspect it, make sure it's all good, and then send it back out to the person that you thought ordered it. And then 2 weeks later, after doing this for a while, the police show up at your apartment, and they have guns in your face, a warrant to search your apartment, put you in handcuffs, and tell you that you're being arrested for grand theft and burglary. And it took you like 2 hours outside your apartment handcuffed to convince them that you had no idea what was going on. And turns out you were part of an organized crime scheme.
Put a finger down if you've had someone pretending to be you since high school and you graduated 10 years ago. They make fake pages of you to scam men into sending them money and now have moved on to fake dating pages of you. So you have men reach out to you daily to confess their love for you. You've had men come up to you in public, call your job, and has had Beyonce's team reach out to you to attempt to sue you for lying about working for Parkwood Entertainment. You file multiple police reports. They still take all of your photos and your videos and claim that all of your actual accounts are the ones that are fake and that you're cheating on the man that you've been with for 9 years with the men that they are scamming.